We're sitting down today with Ed Reinfeld, Air Force veteran. Thank you, Ed, for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Ed, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Okay, I was born in Europe, in a little country, Latvia. It's not quite half the size of the state of Washington. When I was born, there were maybe 2 million, people, population. It was in 1944. During World War II, the Soviets had occupied in the very early 40s because of the treaty between Germany and the Soviet Union, and they kind of partitioned Europe, and the Soviets took one place and the Germans moved into another place. And then when Hitler broke the treaty and invaded Russia, Germany came into Latvia and occupied for a while. And then in 44, the Soviets, when they were starting to whip Hitler, the Soviets moved back in to Latvia. We were farmers. We had a pretty good sized farm, barn and a big house and stables and even a horse-drawn sleigh to go through the snow, and quite a lot of snow in Latvia. And we had riverfront property, and it was a very nice piece of property. And the Soviets came, and one of the soldiers was a nice guy, told my grandmother, pack warm clothes because you're going somewhere. And my grandparents were victims, like you see, of people loaded in cattle cars. And we didn't know where they were for probably 10 years. My mother's family came with us. We escaped through the woods, basically, and we ended up down in one of the ports in southern Latvia and got on a ship and sailed across the Baltic, down the coast of the Baltic into Germany. And then I don't know how, of course I was just a few months old, and we ended up in southern Germany around Munich with what we could carry. And then we ended up in a small town just outside of Munich, and my first memories were looking out through wires. And then another memory was open bay barracks, like you see in the old films of the Army, with bunks. And there were blankets between the bunks to separate families. Later on, we were more accepted by the American Army. This was the American zone. Mm-hmm. And we were they got used to us, and they realized that we were not an issue, not a problem. So we were allowed into the town area more. For a while we were still in a compound with a gate across the front with a log boom that was counterbalanced with a bucket of rocks. So there was a guard at the gate who would authorize your departure or coming in. Sure. And then we slowly got into the towns, and we had an apartment, several places. We lived in several places. And from there, it was 1944, it was 45 or 46. Of course, war ended in 45. 46, I start remembering some things. We didn't see too many American troops. I was about 47. We had a lot of surplus vehicles that were used, but the troops were not there. And I realized later, reading history, and that was during the Berlin crisis. So the troops were up north around Berlin, and we were pretty secure down in our area, down in southern Germany, on the Austria border. Life was pretty good. It wasn't bad. I don't remember too much strife and hardships. We were told stories about real hardships, about getting food and places to live and shelter.
Did you have a pretty good sized family?
I'm sorry. Yeah. It was my father and I, and then my mother's family. She and her mother and father, my grandparents, and her sister. On my father's side, one of the brothers stayed behind in Latvia, I guess on the farm. He ended up working for the Soviets, but if you didn't get anything, sure. So he had to work. And there were 3 brothers in the family. My father was the oldest, and the middle brother apparently came with us, from what I heard, and he wanted to go somewhere in Germany and he was going to get on a train, and everybody told him, don't go on the train. This is still during the war, but he went on the train, and as you see in the films and videos, the train was strafed, and he was killed.
Yeah.
So anyhow, coming up to, we would get packages from the Red Cross. We would get packages from, it was called UNRRA, United Nations Refugee Relief Association, whatever agency. And we would get, about once a month, we would get some underwear and towels and washcloths and Hershey bar.
God loves you when you
Oh
do the
yeah,
hook
yeah,
bar.
yeah.
There we
You
go.
bet, you bet. And then everything went along. My mother got tuberculosis, and she was hospitalized, and it was quite a thing in those days, tuberculosis.
Sure.
And the cure was long coming and took a while. We did whatever paperwork necessary. In 1950, we were allowed to come to the U.S., and my mother stayed behind, and it was my father and I. We came as legal immigrants with our green cards. We landed, we took a ship from, the city was Bremerhaven, which means the city of Bremen, and Hafen is harbor. And we crossed the Atlantic. I was seasick most of the trip, and stayed down below in the bunk. We were a converted troop ship, and upstairs was first class, and they had a dance room, a ballroom and restaurants, and we were fed down in the galley, but it was all right. I didn't get much of that anyway because I was sick, and my father would bring me oranges and little snacks. I would have something to eat. We sailed into Nova Scotia, Halifax, and to drop, I guess, somebody, I wasn't sure, and then on the way down the coast to New York, I was just fine. Whether the ship was rolling instead of pitching, or whether I just got used to the motion.
Yeah.
So I was doing fine and running around the deck and having a good time. We landed in New York. We got in line, always in line, just like the military, to get different donations and gifts. And our luggage arrived, what luggage we had. My father had made a big wooden crate to carry our things, and then of course we had other handbags. We stopped at a desk, and the Lutheran World Federation, we were Lutherans, and gave him some cash. And it was to be repaid, and it was, of course. From New York Harbor, we got on a bus and we went to a train station. I don't know which one. I'm sure there were several in New York. Maybe Grand Central, I don't know. And there was a big lobby in the train station, and I was walking around, and I told my father I was going to go up in a mezzanine, which had some stairways to it. He said, okay. I went up the mezzanine, got lost, and couldn't figure out how to get back. But I made it 6 years old. And then a gentleman came up and handed me comic books. 2 of them, and I remember, I think one of them was Superman, but I don't know, and they're long gone. So we got on a train and crossed the U.S., and we went through the big tunnel on Stevens Pass. I remember going through tunnels, and all of a sudden it got dark, and it didn't get light for a long time. Yeah.
And that give a little kid much hope.
What's going on here? Yeah. So finally it got light, and we stopped in Tacoma, I believe, and there were some people there that we knew that had come over previously, and then we ended up down there's a station in Kelso down in southwest Washington, and we ended up living with another family in Longview. The stipulations to come to the U.S. were that you had to have a job and you had to have a place to live. And this one family, Weyerhaeuser Company, sponsored us with employment for my father, and this other family had a big home, and they gave us a room to live in.
Right.
So then we had until we finally, about 55, we found a house to rent and then buy. I started school in Longview, basically grew up in Longview. Grade school, junior high at that time, we didn't know from middle schools. And I went to high school in R.A. Long, high school in Longview, and graduated in '62. I tried college and didn't really do very well. And then in '64, February 1, I enlisted in the Air Force. So that was all fine. Did my basic training in Texas.
At Lackland,
At Lackland in Texas. Yeah, everybody went there. We were supposed to have 8 weeks of basic training. We did 5 weeks because I think we were building up for Vietnam.
Sure.
And I got sent to Illinois, central Illinois, by close to Champaign-Urbana, where University of Illinois is. There was a huge base there, Chanute Air Force Base. And I finished my 3 weeks of basic training there, and then I started my school. And in high school science class, I hated weather. I did not like weather, so the Air Force made me a weatherman.
Sure,
so,
why not?
And I am overjoyed because I loved it. It was just great. So from there I went to Fairchild Air Force Base, Spokane, and checked in with my weather detachment there. There were 30 of us, so on a 40,000 population air base. And we were detached. We didn't have to do any of the base formations or any of that stuff. And if we were in town watching a movie and the ticker came across the bottom of the screen, a base alert report, and we just kick up and watch the movie some more. So we didn't have to go because we were 24/7 manned.
Right.
And one time before I got my full certification, my skill level in the Air Force, it's called a 5 level. Word came down from headquarters that the Air Force is looking for weathermen to go to jump school. So I went to the commander, and Major Peters, I'd like to go to jump school, sir. And he looked at me and Reinfeld, you dummy, you go to jump school, and if you wash out of jump school before you get 5 level, what's going to happen is you're either going to be a cook or you're going to be a flight line guard up in Minot, North Dakota at 50 below. So, do you still want to go to jump school? No, thank you, Major Peters. I like it very well here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now that I'm understanding it.
Now, yeah, we got it now. We're good. In '65, we started hearing about Vietnam more. And I didn't hear anything about the big Ia Drang Valley battle, which had happened north of Saigon, up in the mountains. But started hearing more and more about things going on. And I started thinking more and more about my personal battle against, I'll get emotional, against communism. So,
well, that's easy to understand. I mean, from
what they did to us, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I don't get emotional for myself, for everybody.
Sure.
So anyway, I went to Major Peters, and Major Peters said, I'd like to go to Vietnam, sir. Reinfeld, you're going to go over there and die. Why do you want to go? Because it's my battle against communism, sir.
Yep.
So, okay, signed my papers in...
He saved you from jump school, so...
yeah, he saved me from jump school, but he didn't save me from the firing squad.
There we go.
So, early spring of '66, I ended up going to a survival school in the swamps of Georgia and spent several weeks there learning demolitions, escape and evasion, and basically a real abbreviated special forces training without the jump school. And Major Peters was still looking over me then. So I came out of there and I got my orders, Quy Nhon Air Base, South Vietnam. And I looked in the Airman magazine, which was monthly, and it had a picture of a guy water skiing. And the caption under the picture, recreation at Quy Nhon Air Base, South Vietnam. And I said, cool, if I'm going to fight a war, I might as well do it on water skis. Okay, sign me up. So I got my orders and I landed in Saigon, and a receiving desk said, give me your orders. So I gave him a stack of orders, and he looked at him and he says, oh, you're one of the guys going out with the Army, aren't you? So I said all the mandatory military words, and then I went out with the Army. And I was detached at a big headquarters unit for a while, and then I got sent to the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment, which had just arrived in Vietnam in September, the month after I got there. And we watched up a hillside and saw tents, and we called them hooches, going up, and we were wondering, a friend and I were wondering, who were those people up there? And that turned out to be the 11th ACR. And shortly after they moved out of that area, I got told by my commander in Vietnam, Reinfeld, you're going out with the 11th Armored. Okay, yes sir. So there I was out on their base camp where they had just cleared jungle, and I had a nice clump of bamboo outside my tent, and another man and I were the two weathermen in the 5,000 man regiment. We were Air Force, the only Air Force attached to the regiment, which was cool because nobody knew what we were and nobody knew what we were doing.
That's even better yet.
And we'd stand outside and look at the clouds, and then we had a little thermometer with a shoelace on it that we'd get wet, and we'd spin it around and look real smart doing that. And what are you guys doing? Hey, don't bother me, I'm busy.
That's it. This is Air Force
This
stuff.
is Air Force. This is Air Force stuff. You Army guys don't know this. And I was detached to the Army because they had no weather support. The artillery people would send up balloons, which would give wind speeds and directions and pressures and humidity for ballistics, for firing the artillery. We took some of their information for our forecasts, and then I would report. And the Army needed our support for tank and helicopter operations.
Okay.
So we had to tell them what the weather was and what the cloud level is, whether you can fly or can't fly, whether it's too low or raining too hard and all that. So I wanted to go when April came around. I wanted to go on R&R, and I'd always wanted to see Hong Kong. Well, when I first checked in Saigon, I was sent to called MACV, Military Assistance Command Vietnam, and that was the Air Force liaison with the Army. And you go to that office. So I went to that office, and there was a little lieutenant colonel with a half a cigar. He's gone now, I'm sure, so he was a Kurt LeMay wannabe. And anyway, glad to see you, Reinfeld. And he handed me I was issued an M14 rifle with 2 magazines and a .38 revolver with 18 rounds. And now, you go out there with the Army and you show them how we do it. And you just get right out there. And then came R&R time. The Chinese and the Brits were having some problems in Hong Kong, and I went to Colonel Sir, I'd like to go to Hong Kong, sir. Reinfeld, you might get hurt over there. What did you just tell me, sir? You might get hurt over there, but we have an opening for Hawaii. So I went to Hawaii. That was all right. Free trip, a week away.
There you go.
So, yeah. I did more than some over there and less than a lot of others. But I feel my contribution was worth it. Unfortunately, the administration tried to fight a war, and the legislators took it away from us. And I call it a surrender, basically. I was there before Tet. I came home before Tet when the things really hit the fan. And I say I missed Tet, but I didn't really miss Tet at all. So, again, I'm in the VFW post with some who I'd been detached to the 25th Division for a while and went out to the jungle a little bit. And he was with the 25th Division. Of course, we didn't know each other, 20,000 soldiers. And he would come in off of operations out in the jungle, and a company of 100 to 120 men, he'd say, well, we got shot up. We were down to about 40. And I saw my share of incoming, but I didn't ever get into situations like that, which had I been sent, I would have, of course. I'm glad in many ways that I didn't, but I feel that I did my part. Fear is something that hits, and then when it really gets tight, you no longer are afraid. You just function. So, sorry. Anyway, there are several in the VFW post, of course, that did that. But I can say that I didn't sit in Saigon and brag about what I had done, and because I had done some of it instead of bragging about it. I have a saying: those who did the most say the least, and those who did the least say the most. If you read in a newspaper or a book about so-and-so won a silver star, you don't win those. You don't get up in the morning and say, well, I think I'll go out and win me a silver star. What happens is you get out into a situation and suddenly you just work.
Do your job.
You do your job. Whether consciously or subconsciously, you're out there, you're functioning. Your training kicks in, your survival mode kicks in, and also your love for fellow man comes in. And so there, like I say, you don't think, you just function and you do it and it gets done. And then that's when the fear kicks in. Then you get the shakes or whatever, or relief, and you sleep a lot or whatever, and that's it. Most of my duty was really good. I met some wonderful people there. I wouldn't trade that for anything. To do it again, if my country called, I would, but I'm too old. So I won't.
Yeah, we got a few more.
I won't have to. Yeah, I won't have to. There's other warm bodies out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's plenty of young men.
Yeah. So, and I still maintain contact with one of the people that I met there. He lives in Illinois, in a suburb of Chicago, and we meet each other periodically, and we communicate by phone and email and text. So that's, and I feel good about that. It's wonderful. One time he made a comment that we were looking at pictures that we had from over there, slides. We took a lot of slides, and we could see people on the slide, and that's so-and-so, and that's so-and-so, and gee, that's so-and-so. And he looked one day over a glass of scotch, and he said, you know, all those guys, and he said, you and I are the only ones that maintain contact, which, that's good. So, finished up, and I flew a lot around the country. I would take door gunner rides for some of the guys that got tired of flying all day, and if I wasn't reporting my weather and the other person that we were together would be on duty, I would go ride around the country. I saw Tainan City and Cu Chi, where the tunnels were. I saw Zion, where Bob Hope put on a show. I got to see Bob Hope. Fuloy, the 1st Division. Zion was 25th Division. I got up into a place called Dalat, which was a resort town up in the mountains, not too far from Pleiku, where there's severe battles. But it was a resort town. The oil company representatives and the rubber company representatives all had villas there with big stone walls and broken wine bottles on top, so you couldn't climb the walls. And a nuclear reactor for power actually was there, and a beautiful lake in the middle of town. And this was our in-country R&R. I spent a week there, I think, or a week and a half. And they had paddle boats available, and nobody tried fishing. I didn't see anybody fishing. But
Geez, that's almost like a contradiction of reality there. I mean, you got fantasy.
Oh yeah.
Fantasy Island right in the middle of the war.
That was it, yeah. And at night we'd be in the bars having a few drinks with some of the locals and riding in cabs with them. And during the daytime, they'd be shooting at us. And then at night we'd go have a few more beers. So yeah, who knew who? But everybody, that was a resort, so everybody took it easy and the daytime, and it's like Dracula, you change at night. Yeah, so yeah, no, it was that was nice duty. So anyway, came time when we had 30 days left in country. We called ourselves short.
Short. Yeah.
I'm short. You'd stand outside your tent, short.
One of those like 29 to wake up.
Yeah, and so we'd get a tassel off Seagram's VO bottle, and we would put it through the buttonhole on our collar, and guys would say, the Air Force would say, "You can't do that. Don't put the tassel in there." What are you going to do? Send me to Vietnam? So
There you go.
when I first reported over there, the Air Force, we were sent to the Army, and the Air Force said, "You will not wear Army unit patches on your sleeves." So we wore Army unit patches on our sleeves. Yeah. What are you going to do? Send me to Vietnam? Yeah. So
You got me.
go ahead, write me up. I don't care.
There
You know,
you go.
Colonel Sear told me, let those guys, if they write you up, just send the ticket to me and I'll tear it up right there and hit the trash can. Thank you, Colonel Sear.
It's like one of those. I'll give you Article 15.
Yeah, Article
Yes,
15.
right.
Yeah, okay,
Give me
here,
a pair
come
of
on.
them.
Yeah, here's my Article 15. Okay, good job, Reinfeld.
Yeah.
And that was good. So anyway, on the way out home, I reported at Tonsalud Air Base. I flew in on a helicopter, sitting in the door gunner's seat, and as we were banking over, there was a district called Cholon, which was Chinese, and it was full of the communists, and we weren't allowed in Cholon because people that went into Cholon didn't come back out. So it was declared off limits. But I got ground fire from between the buildings at Cholon, right on final, going into Tonsalud. I'm going home, leave me alone. And so anyway, that worked out all right. Got on the plane the next day. Part of the autopilot was gone, so we could look out the windows, and the plane was rocking like this. And pretty soon people are sick, and the stewardesses were sick, and they fed us, and whoever wanted milk got milk, but the milk was sour because it was warm. So, but anyhow, got to Travis Air Force Base outside of San Francisco, Oakland, and processed through, got on a bus, went into San Francisco, got the standard abuse from a lot of the civilians. I was in uniform when I got there. I got some civilian clothes pretty quickly. One evening, I had met a guy in Vietnam. They were setting up weather equipment, more than sophisticated than whipping a thermometer around, because it had become a fairly permanent base. Mm-hmm. And he had a girlfriend in San Francisco, and he says, "Call up so-and-so." So I called so-and-so, and she said, I told her I know this guy, and he said to call you and say at least hello, and they were going to get married. So I called and said hello, and she said, "Well, get on this bus and get on this bus and come here, and we will meet you, and then we'll show you around the city." So by then I had civvies, and wonderful Chinese family. It's really wonderful family, and I met the father, and he kind of grumped a little bit. He wasn't too happy about seeing me, but I found out later that he was disgusted and disappointed that he hadn't known I was going to come visit, and he would have fixed a dinner, and that's so cool. Anyway, they showed me around, rode the cable cars, went to Ghirardelli Square where the chocolates are, and got to see some things, and then we had a friendly parting, and I went back, got in my hotel, and climbed on a plane, I think the next day, and headed back to Longview. Landed in Portland, got a bus for Longview, and got off there. By then I was 22 years old, 23, 44 is 23 years old. I made another attempt at college and didn't do very well there again. I took too tough a course of study, and I should have, instead of trying for engineering, I should have taken poli-sci, and gotten a degree in poli-sci and become a crooked lobbyist for a crooked senator somewhere. And life would have been sweet.
Yeah,
So,
there we go.
yeah, life would have been really good. But that didn't happen, and I actually, whether it was a mild form of PTSD or whatever, I had no direction. Life at home with family was with my father was not that good. And one day I just decided I don't need this stuff anymore. And I climbed in my car and I left Longview. And then I ended up on the Olympic Peninsula with a person I knew from Fairchild. And he had a little cafe, so I helped him work the little cafe for a while. And we saw in the Seattle PI at the time, which is no longer, an ad for weathermen for up in Alaska. So I applied at Alaska Airlines, who had published that, and I ended up, they hired me and sent me to Anchorage. And I took a test in Anchorage, and I was certified to take weather observations at Prudhoe Bay on the North Slope. So one day I got on the airplane in Seattle. They had a cold snap. It was about 20 degrees, and they had just cleared the snow from the runways of about 1.5 feet snowfall. The airport was closed for a couple days. And anyway, I'd left about 20 degrees and landed at Anchorage. It was 20 below. I took my test, and they put me on an airplane. I went to Fairbanks. It was 50 below. So I got a real sudden wake up on that. Fortunately, I had enough clothes. From there, I got on a C-130, a big military workhorse, civilian workhorse, and flew directly to Prudhoe Bay, way up on, they called it the North Slope. And
It probably wasn't much warmer up there.
and maybe it was, but I'm serious, from 50 below, a day is 30 below, geez, it warmed up today.
Yeah, there we
And
go.
I'm serious, yeah. So anyway, I got up there and I started doing weather observations to get supplies in and out of Prudhoe Bay from Fairbanks, from Anchorage, oil company officials, workers.
But pretty much what they're using was a C-130.
They would use the C-130. The Boeing 737 was a very simple aircraft at that time. One of the early models, they had a cargo version, but we had a 5,000-foot gravel strip. And they were not certified for gravel operations. Winter was fine because it was ice, it was frozen. But during the summer and spring and summer, it was gravel and it couldn't compact completely all of it down. So they developed, Boeing or the engine manufacturers developed a system where there was a tube stuck out the bottom of both engines with a nozzle that kind of pointed away. So they would take bleed air from the engine and blow on the runway as you were landing, so that even when you put reverse on and the engine is sucking air, the gravel was being blown away. So I flew back and forth to Fairbanks on C-130s. I had 2 weeks on, a week off, and sometimes on the 737, which was cargo configuration, they would put igloos in the front with a big door that opened to the side and about 30 seats in the back. And they would fly some of the workers in and out, so I rode on that. And so I go back to Fairbanks, and then I reconnected with a guy from high school that lived in Sitka. And so I might take my week off and go to Sitka and misbehave. And then I met some guys from Phoenix, so I would fly down to Phoenix for, sometimes it was $30 round trip, because the airlines had trade-out agreements. Fly on our airplane and we can fly on your airplane. So that was great. So I'd fly down to Phoenix for a week out, and they always had their time out was coinciding with mine. They worked 6 in and 2 out. I worked 2 in and 1 out, so we always worked it out somehow. So I'd go to Phoenix and misbehave.
It'd be nice to get down a little warmer.
It was warm, yeah, it was pretty nice. I was down there Thanksgiving, and I walked outside with a t-shirt on. It was 70 degrees.
Life was good.
And everybody's got a sweatshirt saying, "Huck, it's cold out here. How can you handle it?" I say, "Hey, this is good. It's 50 below where I came from."
You ain't seen
So
cold.
you ain't seen cold. You don't know from cold, yeah. So then the airline and they were going to build the pipeline, and the environmentalists, the Sierra Clubbers in California, said, no, you can't do it because you'll uh, ruin the migrating patterns of the caribou herds. But they had never been up there. They didn't know, because I would have to radio from my little radio shack where I was air traffic advisor, also along with being weatherman. I would tell the airplanes who's here and who's there and who's coming and who's going. Uh, I'd have to call the camps to tell them to get a truck out here and chase the caribou off my runway, because it's the first time in 10,000 years they had dry feet. So it wouldn't hurt anything. But anyway, that all got bypassed. And so when the pipeline got put on hold, a lot of the jobs got cut back. So I left Prudhoe Bay area and ended up in Sitka for a while. My wife to be was a teacher in Sitka, and she met the guy that I had gone to school with, and so I got to know her. And then one December, her two sisters came to visit her up in Sitka, and I met them both, and one went back and the other one stayed, and the rest is history. So we ended up, we met the 27th of December and got married the 27th of June down in Leavenworth, where she was born and raised. Settled in Wenatchee. Sitka wasn't that good an employment situation. Made $3 an hour and buying milk for 90 cents or half gallon at that time. So that cut in.
It's still a hefty price for those days.
But it depends on, right. And it depends on your income level, of course. Sure. But at work stamping cans in a grocery store, the wages weren't that good. Right. So anyhow, came down here, got married, went back to Sitka, and one day the father-in-law or father writes and says, why don't you move down here? There's work. So we moved from Sitka down to Wenatchee and found a job in about a week's time, and tried to find a weather job, but there wasn't one locally. And so I ended up driving a delivery truck for a company, a small locally owned company that sold lunch meats and cheeses and salads and salad dressings. And I called it a cheese and bologna route.
Yeah.
And I would go as far as Oroville and Moses Lake and around George, and which the money wasn't that great, but it was good enough, so we got by and all right. And
stable.
And yeah, we made money, and it was an income. It was stable. And after about not quite 2 years of that, I heard of an opening at Coca-Cola local, and so I went to work for Coca-Cola bottling, delivering and selling, and I didn't do any repair, very little, just on the job, on the route repair of vending machines and those types of things. And I feel comfortable that I did a good job, because when I left, finally retired, they said they missed me, so okay, fine.
You worked for Coke forever, though.
27 years. I retired in '01, and then I went to work for the school district and worked there for about 6 years, not quite. And now I work at Town Toyota Center, greeting people and validating tickets and letting them go up the elevator. And we raised 4 sons, and that was great. We had one, and then we raised 2 at a time, and then we raised one more, and they were 2 years apart each. And so we had 4 kids in 4 years, and it was a chore, but it was good. And now the oldest is successful here in Wenatchee, and he's just about finished with 33 years in the Air Force Reserve. The twins went in the Marine Corps. One did his term and got out, and they were in tanks out of the Yakima Reserve Unit. One of them was Tanker of the Year, and the other one was NCO of the Year, so they did well. And one stayed career. They finished university down at Central, and he got his commission, and ended up flying for the Marine Corps They both had private license, and so he had a little bit of help initially
Sure.
getting through flight school. And
And what did he fly for the Marines?
he flew after the T-34, which was a turboprop. That was a first trainer. Then he flew T-45s, which is a Boeing-built jet trainer that the Navy and Marine Corps use. Then he flew the Harrier. People call it the jump jet. Yeah. So he did.
That's a pretty trick machine.
It's yeah, he loved it. He had a choice. He did. To be honest, he did very well in flight school. He graduated #1 in his class. So he had a choice of aircraft that he could. So he wanted C-130. That he wanted to fly transport to be transitioned into civilian life. But the Marine Corps has very few openings for C-130, so he missed out on that. So he had the choice of F-18 or the Harrier. So he chose the Harrier, and he said, "I want to be there for my troops." So he did one deployment off an aircraft carrier to the Middle East, and he did another deployment on the ground, which they call FAC, Forward Air Control.
Sure.
And the FAC tour was all pilots that can do FAC tours, because they can be on the ground with their Marine Corps unit, and when a dust up starts, they know what's going on, so they can call the people that are loitering overhead and call them in properly, tell them which direction, what to do, how to do it, and where the bad guys are. So he did another tour that way. So 2 of them in the Middle East, and retired finally from the Marine Corps after about 6 years. And now he hauls freight around the world for Atlas Air, flying 747s. The older brother, I neglected to say, went in the police department, Wenatchee Police, and now he's very successful in the police.
He's the police chief, isn't he?
Chief, yes.
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I was going to say,
yeah.
You can't be too much more successful than
Not much farther.
the top dog.
Not much farther going to PD, no. And then he's flying, and then the other twin brother did his one tour in the Marine Corps, and his wife didn't want the unsettled life of a military career, so he ended up, they moved to San Diego. He worked for a pipe fitting company, made valves, not sink faucets, but they make municipal valves and those types of things. And you get one on a pallet, that's all you get. So, and they kind of enjoyed San Diego, but he called one day and said, "We're moving back, can you come help?" And I, "What's going on?" He says, "We can't get ahead." He was making good money, but the cost of living was so much. And he had a 2-hour commute every day to go to work and come home. So
crazy.
yeah, you leave early in the morning, get home 10 at night, and that's so they moved back, and he's deputy now with Chelan County, and he is head of the emergency management. So when there's search and rescue to go out, he coordinates that. He was on search and rescue, and he would go up to Kolchak and up in the enchantments and bring people out when they would go up and do stupid things. And you come over from the coast, you don't know what you're doing, so you wear a t-shirt in snow country. So So anyway, he did that, and he's still emergency management. The youngest son went to Marine Corps also, 3 Marines, 1 airman, and he was also in the tank unit, and then he got out of the Marine Corps and also went to the PD. He went here locally, the Sheriff's Department and police require 2 years of higher education. And when he got out of school, he didn't want any more school. No, I'm finished with school. And so he heard that King County and Seattle PD, if they held a mirror in front of your face and you fogged it up, then they knew you were alive.
You're hired.
So they would test you. So he tested over there, and took an opening with King County. So he was King County deputy, and he had the I-90 north bend to the Snoqualmie Summit area and outlying areas in there. He got enough time at King County, enough hours experience where he could transition over here. So he and his wife came here, and he was with the PD for quite a long time, Wenatchee, and he was school resource officer. I called him campus cop.
Yeah.
So he was the law enforcement for all the school district, and then he retired from the PD, and now he's teaching criminal justice at the skills center down at Old Station.
Right.
And sometimes he gets some really good motivated students, and he feels accomplishing something. So that's great. And now we have 8 grandchildren, 4 and 4, and 3 of them with Jeremy. They're in Tokyo, live in Tokyo, and
Couldn't be better.
and life's sweet. We haven't seen them in years. We were going to go, and COVID came, and that just threw everything into a big bucket.
Sure.
And now our son is waiting to find out when he can get a work schedule. He's still fairly junior at Atlas Air, so sometimes his work schedules change a little bit. And he's trying to find an established, decent work schedule so we can go over and he can be there. And we've met the family. Our youngest granddaughter was that big the last time we saw her, and the other kids, we had time with them. And his wife now, a wonderful, wonderful Japanese lady, and she can flip omelets with chopsticks. Anybody who can do that has got to have some good in them. So,
There's some skill.
yeah.
I can't even flip an omelet with a spatula.
Oh yeah. Anyway, Kisaki is just a wonderful lady, and we can FaceTime back and forth and whatever it's called anymore. And I sing happy birthday songs to the grandchildren and do a little dance. And the youngest granddaughter says, "I can dance better than Grandpa." So of course you can. You're not 80 years old, so yeah. So that just about covers me. What else can I say? You know.
That was very interesting. I've known you. We've known each other for 50
Close
years?
to 50 years, yeah.
And I would say about 90% of that.
We haven't seen each other.
Yeah. It's all new, and it was really interesting about your family history and everything coming from that. And I said I think that's an important part too of these sit-downs with veterans is their background and what led them to their military service. And
part of my family history is my grandfather. My father's uncle served in the Latvian army, and the Latvian army at that time, the Russians, the Imperial Russians, were close to Latvia, and he served in the Russian army as a medic.
Mm-hmm.
And he got to salute the Tsar one time, which was exceptional. You didn't get close to the Tsar.
You didn't get close to him.
Yeah, Nicholas II. Anyway, and then my grandfather on my mother's side was a Mustang officer, as we call it, up through the ranks from private to became lieutenant colonel in the Latvian army. And I'm sure at his age, he must have served in the Imperial Army, and then I know in the Latvian army he must have been involved in World War I.
Right.
Because of his age, and a wonderful, gentle, kind person with a gentle touch.
And these are all
beautiful handlebar mustache.
Well, didn't your dad, Edgar, didn't he have a little...
He had a great big bush that he kind of spread on the middle. Spread it to both sides. I
never really saw it under control. It was always kind of like...
He would strain his coffee through it.
Yeah. He's trained a drink or two.
You and I used to look over a glass at each other too once in a while.
Right, but Edgar, he just looked at us like we're young pups.
He enjoyed his nips. So
anyway,
Howard, you've got it.
Hey,
I don't know a question, whatever. I'll do what I can. But
I think that was.
And my emotional moments again, as I say, they're not for me.
No.
They're for all of us. Vietnam was lost, and the administration had them on their knees. The North were on their knees, ready to sign papers, and then the politicians took that away from us.
Well, if they'd let Curtis LeMay have another 30 days.
Oh, if Kurt had if he'd been allowed to bomb Haiphong Harbor and the oil reserves and all that stuff, things would have changed. Things would have been
They
a
would
lot.
have bonded years
Yeah,
earlier.
and because of that, because of that, there's almost 59,000 names on the wall. And anyone who hasn't seen the wall, civilian or veteran, should see it.
That's right.
It's
Well, Ed, I'll tell you, it's been a blessing and a pleasure to have you come in and sit and chat.
it's always good to see you, Howard.
Okay,
You
I
know,
appreciate it very much.
The last time I saw you, I walked in here and out came this bearded wonder, and okay, who's that guy? And then you say my name, and holy cow, yeah, that's good old Howard, yeah.
Well, thanks again for coming.
Well, thank you for your work with vets. It's
my pleasure.
It's a calling that comes to some, and it's you're doing it very well.
I appreciate it.
From my standpoint.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, thanks again.
Okay, you bet. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.